Stitch Cutie, I'm Brittany with Stitches of Love Quilting, and welcome to the video tutorial for using your embroidery machine to make the applique portion of your block that's in your March box. So of course you have all your patterns, it's got all the instructions, and let me tell you what I have ready to go. So you're gonna want to do all of your cutting from all these beautiful fabrics that you have, and specifically we're going to be working with the 14-inch square, and I have it folded in half right sides together, then in half again, so it's in quarters right sides together, so it'll be easy to place in my hoop in a moment. Then all my prefused laser cut pieces that came in my kit, I've gone on and peeled the backing off of them, and I have them sitting ready to go. Then I have my thread colors from my thread kit, so we're using the white, the tawny tan, the pink, black, butterfly gold, and then the turquoise. And then I have my favorite setup, which is my light pad, my applique glass, and my cutting mat are under here, fusing mat, Steady Betty, and then of course my steam fast travel iron that I always use. A few other tools I find helpful. Of course, my stabilizer is my Sulky Tear Easy stabilizer. I really like working with this in my hoop. Then I have my 4-in-1 Alex Anderson tool, and every now and then I'll use it when I'm doing my embroidery portion. I'll use this to kind of help get it in place, like a piece you'll see me every now and then, especially on the small pieces. I'll use that. And then of course I have my favorite Karen K Buckley scissors and something you'll want to order. So all of that's available from our website. Something that we don't have on our website but you'll probably want is tape of some sort, or the Transport 3M tape. You can just order it from Amazon. You get a bunch of rolls for like 10, 15, 20 bucks. So let's first get started by loading the white thread onto our machine. We're going to load our embroidery file, and let's get going with the first step. Alrighty, so now that first step is an X in your hoop. Now it's not exactly in the center of your hoop, and that's because just the way the design works out. So don't panic if you don't see that exactly in the center of your hoop. Overall, it's in the right place, okay? So I always turn my hoop sideways right onto my Steady Betty in front of me. And then it doesn't matter which location you start from, with your folded edges, you're just going to put it up on this X. You're going to unfold it. And don't worry, you have tons of fabric. We're going to cut off like inches. So don't worry when you're putting this in place. You're going to have plenty of fabric to trim at the end. Then I'm just going to give a little press from where I've had that folded. And then I do want to make sure to do some nice taping. So what the machine is going to stitch in our very next step, it's going to give us a few what kind of look like random lines, but ultimately they're really helpful when you go to trim your block. They're going to really guide you and make sure you're on your applique placement in the right spot. To me, it's just a tool that makes life easy, and I love that. Anything we can do to make life easy, right? So I'm just going to make sure I put a good few pieces of tape on this. And then we're going to keep that white thread on our machine. And as I mentioned, it's going to give you what looks like 4 random lines, but ultimately are trim lines to help you get this cut on point just right. And it's going to give you your first round of applique outlines. Alrighty, so in the center, you have some applique outlines. And we're going to iron our pieces in place. Again, I turn my hoop sideways to fit on my Steady Betty. So my design for your perspective is going sideways. It's still very easy to put your pieces in place, I promise. So there are a few areas of over and underlap. You're always going to follow your applique placement guide numbers in terms of go from smallest to largest number. So we're going to start right now with our spool top and bottom. And your prefused laser cut applique pieces are cut to the exact shape that's outlined here. So it's really easy to put these in place and get them ironed on. Now, when you're ironing your pieces, do be cognizant of where you taped. So make sure you don't accidentally iron your tape because it'll get your iron sticky, and no one wants that. So next we're gonna put our bird beak down. So what we're doing right now is building our applique completely in the hoop of our embroidery machine without any trimming or tack down lines or things like that. And then with our bird, just make sure in a larger piece you have it all the way in place before you begin ironing, and give it a press. Isn't this the color of the bird? It's just such a beautiful blue. I'm forgetting the name of the blue right now, but it's just gorgeous. Now over here on our bee, we're gonna put our little stinger of our bee down first, and this is definitely a spot where you may want to use your little all-in-one tool from Alex Anderson to get it in place. I did it just fine without it, but it is helpful sometimes. Or you could use a pair of tweezers also, are helpful sometimes when you're putting just really little pieces down in place. All right, so we have all the applique pieces ironed on for this step. So this is what your hoop looks like right now. And remember, we have lots of fabric hanging off to the side because this block is on point. Just be careful when you're putting your hoop on and off your machine not to get that stuck, but also make sure that your fabric doesn't flap into your hoop. You want it over the arm of your machine so you don't accidentally stitch any of that down. That wouldn't be good. All right, so keep the white thread on and let's continue for the next round of applique outlines. Alrighty, so now we have another round of applique outlines, and again on this step, there's some areas of over and underlap, and we want to make sure we put our pieces down in the proper order. So just stay with me in the tutorial and you'll be all set. And again, it's all written in your instructions as well. You always go from smallest to largest number. So right now we're going to put our cute little spool down. This is piece number 3. Oh my gosh, I love this fabric too. So it is, this whole quilt features Lori Holt fabrics from our friends at Riley Blake. Just adorable. I mean, don't y'all love Lori Holt? How can you not? And then we're going to put down our thimble right in place and give this a nice press. Next, we'll put our little spoolie bird wing in place. There we go. Easy peasy. Now we're over to our bumblebee, and that's where you really want to be careful because we do have over and underlap here again. So we're going to take and first put down the 2 stripes that go on our bee, and the edges of it line up perfectly with the edge of your yellow bee. See how that is? Perfect. And now you'll notice that you have 2 wings. And the reason is sometimes when you're working with white, if you have just 1 layer, you can see right through it. However, if you have 2 layers, then it really does help line it and hide that underneath part. So what we're going to do is iron 1 down of each piece, and then in a second we'll iron down the second piece right on top. So there we go, easy peasy. And now take a look. See how much wider that gets when you have 2 layers? There we go. And that little trick works too anytime you need to double line something. Just cut 2 exactly the same. Easy as can be. Alrighty, so now you're like, hey, we're done. Nope, not quite. We have 1 more applique outline, and that is for the little accent stripe on our thimble. So keep the white thread on for another step. Okay, so you'll see that little strip outlined. You're just gonna take this black piece and put it right in place. Again, the edges line up perfectly with the edge of your thimble. So there we go, and just work your way over. There we go. So now everything is ironed into place. And what we're going to do now is go through our color changes. So I'm going to take my hoop on and off to discuss what's about to stitch, what did just stitch, and what colors we're changing to. For you at your embroidery machine and your sewing space, you don't need to take your hoop on and off anymore. You're just going to change your threads, okay? So what I'm going to load right now is the 1056 Tawny Tan, and the machine is going to do a lovely buttonhole stitch around the outside of our spool bottom and top. All right, so the spool top and bottom are stitched. It looks great. Now we're going to change to 1256, this sweet pink, and the machine is going to do a buttonhole stitch around 4 sides, of your spool. Take a look. The pink on your spool is stitched, and my, does it look great. Now we're going to change to black 1005, and the machine is going to stitch around the little accent line and your thimble, and then it's going to do the black parts, or the stitching in black on your bee. So that includes your white wings, the 2 black stripes, and then the little tail, and of course little antenna for your bumblebee. All right, take a look. Your thimble is all stitched, and take a look at your bead. All the black is stitched on it. So now we're going to change to 0567 Butterfly Gold, and the machine is going to go around the 2 yellow areas of your bumblebee that remain and around the beak of Spoolie Bird. Alrighty, so your bumblebee is totally stitched, your bird beak is stitched. Now it's time to load the color 1095, and the machine will do stitching around your wing and your Spoolie Bird body. Ta-da! You have stitched everything in the hoop of your machine. So let's just go slowly from top to bottom It looks absolutely fantastic. So remember those lines that we stitched at the beginning that your machine stitched for you that look a little funny right now? Well, when you take this out of your hoop, they're going to be your placement guides that you use on your applique placement guide to guide trimming your block down to the 10.5 inches. So what you're gonna do before you do that trimming, you can go in and remove your stabilizer from the back. And on a quilt, you wanna remove all of it. On smaller projects, sometimes I leave some of it, but Mom's definitely a stickler on me when I leave it in a quilt. So I'm gonna pull it away, and then I want to talk to you right here. Remember that X that we stitched in the center? When you go to pull your stabilizer away, there's a little bit of a string, right, that you don't need. So you are going to very, very, very carefully, let me come in close so I can show you. See, remember that X that we stitched that was our guidance line, right? We can cut that thread. Do not cut your background fabric though, okay? Be real careful. Boop, there you go. And then trim it right up here where it intersects. And again, be very, very careful when you're doing this, right? There we go. It intersects right here. There we go. And then it intersects right here on our bird. There we go. All right, so again, you're gonna keep pulling off all your stabilizer. I know it's not fun to watch me pull off stabilizer. Let me finish a little bit though, so it looks a little nicer for you, so I can give you some tips about trimming. And you can see you should be more gentle pulling it away than I'm being, but you know, I'm kind of in a hurry. I don't want y'all to wait. So there we go. So now what you're gonna do, look at those perfect stitches you have. These lines right here that stitched are gonna line up on your applique placement guide that comes in your kit. And what you're gonna do is use this as a guide to trim your block to 10.5 inches squared on diagonal. Now, if you want, you can wait and trim these all the way at the end if you want. And so you'll just wanna gently fold this up. I don't like to fold my applique. You can gently fold this up and put it in your spoolie bird bag until you're ready at the end. And you can trim it then, or you can trim it now. Truly, the choice is yours. Just once you trim it, because it is on the bias, right, or it's on the diagonal here, you want to be gentle with it no matter what, okay? So I hope that this little tutorial was helpful for you. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And again, this was for the Spoolie Bird embroidery machine tutorial for the March box. We also have a tutorial for your foundation paper piecing, which was part of this box as well. As always, thank you for your support of Stitches of Love, and happy stitching!